Hello everyone, and welcome back to part 3 of this Ovum presentation on gamification. What is it and how can it help us achieve more? If you missed the first or second part of this presentation, they're up on our YouTube channel, but I will put links to both those videos in the description box down below. We spoke about the what of gamification, so what is gamification? We then spoke about the history of gamification and why gamification is gaining so much enterprise interest and enterprise traction. So I highly recommend that if you haven't checked out those two previous videos, that you do so before watching part 3. So today we're going to be looking at some examples of gamification in the consumer space, and then we're going to be taking a look at how we at Ovum feel gamification can really help improve service management. So, on this slide, you can see 3 examples of gamified experiences or gamified applications. Top left, we have an example from LinkedIn. This is just a simple game mechanic. It's a progress bar, and it's showing me as a LinkedIn user how complete my LinkedIn profile is. It's obviously within my best interests to ensure that my LinkedIn profile is as thorough and as complete as it possibly can be, because then I'm going to be more effectively paired with potential connections or potential future employers. But the benefit extends to LinkedIn here too, because this game mechanic is motivating me as a LinkedIn user to contribute more data and more information on myself than maybe I usually would, because LinkedIn are making me aware that my profile in this example is only 90% complete. There's that intrinsic motivation within certain personalities to want to reach that magic number of 100%. So in doing so, you're going to be entering more data and more information than you usually would. Below that, we can see Night Plus. Now, Night Plus is a fantastic example of a really effective use of gamification. The reason I like Night Plus so much is because it uses those simple game elements that we've already discussed, such as points, such as badges, and such as leaderboards. It uses these simple game elements really effectively at onboarding someone to an activity. But it doesn't rely on those simple game elements long term. What Night Plus does is it focuses on switching someone's behavior. It focuses on making someone realize the benefit of the activity that they're undertaking, in this example, exercise. It uses social really well, so it will encourage you to share your achievements with your social networks, knowing that in doing so, it's going to spark that motivational fire. So while points, badges and leaderboards are useful in this example, they're not what this gamified application relies on solely. Night Plus relies on changing people's behaviors through making them aware of the benefits that that behavioral change is going to reward them with. Get Glue is the final example, and it's probably not as popular as the other 2 examples that we've looked at. But it's a great application, Get Glue. You can download it on your smartphone, on your iPhone. I'm sure it's available on Android. And what Get Glue is, it's similar to Foursquare, but as opposed to checking into locations, you check into entertainment. So you can check in when you're reading a book, you can check in when you're watching a film, or you can check in when you're watching a TV program. You can earn various badges as you do this. And instantly, when I describe to my friends about Get Glue, I get the same reaction. It's like a puzzled face. It's why? Why would you want to check in when you're watching a film? Surely you should be watching the film. And I guess that argument has some substance. But where Get Glue is really clever is in, again, leveraging gamification to expose someone to a greater benefit, in this instance, social interaction. So when you check into a film, you're able to see everybody else that may be watching that film or has watched that film recently. When you check into a book, for example, you can see everybody that's read the book. And what you're able to do is build up a network of people that are engaged in the same experiences that you are and be able to discuss these with these people. So maybe there's a chapter in a book that you were unsure of. Instead of referring to Google and doing your own research that could take hours, you can just converse with someone over Get Glue that has read that chapter. It's a really, really great gamified application, and it uses badges to onboard someone in the use of the application, but it exposes someone to the wider good of that application through engaging them on that social level. So again, it's another really great application. I highly recommend that you check it out. Samsung had a challenge that they hoped gamification could help them resolve. They really wanted to harness a greater customer community across their web offerings. They wanted more user-generated content, and they wanted to engage their customers far more effectively on a social level. So they turned to Badgeville, and with Badgeville's help, they developed Samsung Nation, which was their new gamified web platform. And it used some simple game mechanics and same simple game elements, some of those that we've discussed already. So we can see there we've got a leaderboard, we've got social activities, we've got points that are rewarded for certain things. And what happened, the results that Samsung leveraged through using gamification were really quite extraordinary. And we can see here, and I really want to draw your attention to the engagement section of this data sheet. And when I first saw this, I couldn't help but refer to knowledge management, and especially the population of a knowledge base, and just think how powerful this improvement in engagement could be in really maintaining the quality of a knowledge base that maybe we're producing on a service desk. So in using these game mechanics and these game elements, Samsung were able to really improve and drive engagement across their web offerings far more effectively. You can see there that reviews on products increased by 2 times, comments submitted to the site increased by 5 times, and probably most impressive, answers that were submitted within that user community increased by 10 times. So people were helping each other far more frequently than they were before gamification was used. So a really, really powerful example there of how gamification can really help drive effective engagement. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at where we at Ovum feel gamification can really help improve IT service management. So this first slide is a screen print from vFire, which is a piece of IT service management software from Alemba. And it's got a really intuitive user interface, but it also uses game mechanics and game elements, and we can see a few on this screenshot here. The first one that kind of jumps out at you is the top performers, that leaderboard on the right. It's really important that you think carefully prior to using a leaderboard game element, because it's really dependent, and the success is dependent on the personalities that comprise your service desk. You want to ensure that a leaderboard doesn't promote too great a level of unhealthy competition. Are people going to become overly competitive? Is that going to damage morale? Really think about what you're trying to achieve, what's the overarching business objective that you're hoping gamification can help resolve, and then really think about whether leaderboards are going to be useful or valuable in you doing that. They can be. If you look at how Nike Plus uses leaderboards, for example, I mean, there are millions of people that use Nike Plus. If I was to have my efforts compared to the person that's at number 1 all the time, then that's going to be quite demoralizing for me. But what Nike Plus does is that it makes my achievements on that leaderboard relative to people that may be slightly performing better than me. So that gives me that motivation to reach that next level. Motivation that I probably wouldn't have if Nike Plus was comparing me to the person that was at number 1 on that leaderboard all the time. We can see that this particular service desk analyst has been awarded some badges there too. And what I really like about this is the feedback that this analyst is gaining on the highest knowledge base rating. So they've created a knowledge base article, and relevant to how users have rated it, they're gaining feedback on how useful they found it. And also highest customer rating. So maybe post this analyst resolving a call, a small survey or one question survey goes out to the person they were speaking with just to ask them to rate that service. Now, what is really, really powerful about game elements in this example is that the analyst is able to gain information and feedback on their performance instantly. Now, if we think to the way that feedback is traditionally delivered, for this analyst to be aware of their highest customer rating or their highest knowledge base rating, it may be a case of them having to wait 4 weeks for a review, maybe even 6 months for a biannual review, or a year for a review. What gamification has done here is it's allowed this service desk analyst to gain information far more frequently, and as a result of them having this greater exposure to information on their performance, they're able to adapt their behaviors accordingly. Now the next example is from another service desk, and This was the service desk of a large pharmaceutical company. They recognized that they really needed to improve customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction was at an all-time low due to some of the examples you see there. Call waiting times were too long, call abandonment rate was too high. The higher executives within the company had recognized this, and they posed a challenge to the service desk: improve or be outsourced. And there's no greater challenge than that, in my opinion. So they were being branded the no help desk from the people that they were supposed to be supporting. So service desk management turned to gamification to help drive more effective behaviors within their analysts, which in turn would hopefully improve levels of customer satisfaction. They were using the ServiceNow IT service management solution, and they really wanted to generate experiences to help their analysts enjoy some of the mundane activities that they were partaking on a regular basis. So to make those activities just that little bit more fun by attaching some intrinsic rewards to them, such as badges and levels, an achievements page, and promoting friendly competition, not that heightened level of competitiveness that can actually degrade morale. So they customized their IT service management platform to leverage some game elements and game mechanics, and the results were really, really impressive. They went from being branded the no help desk to being branded the efficient service desk. Customer satisfaction and employee engagement dramatically improved. Adherence to process improved. Call abandonment rates was reduced by 20%, and the average speed of answer time was reduced by 4 minutes. Incredible results there, just through the use of gamification. Behaviours changed because analysts were gaining more regular and relative feedback upon their performance, and in response to that feedback, they were able to adjust their behaviours far more rapidly. Knowledge management is another key area where gamification really has a part to play, in our opinion. Specifically when we focus on the knowledge base, and we looked at Samsung's challenge earlier on and how they really helped drive engagement on their web platforms through gamification. And I think the knowledge base is something that can really benefit from heightened levels of engagement. For a knowledge base to really deliver value, it's important that people are contributing to it and that people are encouraged in its use, especially as we move into this era where peer-to-peer support is gaining so much more traction, self-service is gaining so much more attention. The knowledge base is a really useful resource in ensuring that we're delivering accurate and useful information to our customer base. So if we can extend game elements beyond the service desk and actually engage the people that we serve through gamification, we could really help improve the value delivered by that knowledge base. And again, here's some examples from the vFire solution, whereby we have a leaderboard, a progress bar, and once a user has made 100 contributions to the knowledge base, they're going to achieve a certain badge, that certain intrinsic incentivization. So we're considering the overall objective here, which is to improve the value delivered by a knowledge base, but what we're doing is we're not just focusing on that long-term objective, we're focusing on the behaviors and rewarding the behaviors that are really going to help us achieve that long-term objective. And I think that's one of the key lessons to take away from everything that we've discussed over these 3 presentations to do with gamification. It's about thinking engagement. I've spoken to you about how I'm not a huge fan of the word gamification because I don't feel it truly embodies everything that's great about the practice. When I speak to people about gamification, I really focus on engagement because that's the key benefit for me. And it's about driving behaviors, not just results. Results are obviously important, but what gamification can do is it can help us take those steps towards achieving those overarching results, and it rewards people for taking those steps. I think traditional management practices rightfully do focus a lot of attention on results, but maybe not enough attention on what it takes us to get there. It's like climbing a ladder. I know this is an old cliche, but I love it. I use it in so many aspects of my life, but the overall goal is to get to the top of that ladder, but we have to climb many steps in order to get there. So why not reward people for taking those little steps? Because odds are that we're going to reach the top far more quickly. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me over the course of these 3 sessions. I welcome any questions over Twitter. You've got my Twitter handle on there. My email is also available too, so drop me a direct message on Twitter if you wish. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.